Okay. So, Sister Jenny, we start with the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts. Thank you.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranam gacchami, Dhammang saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Adina dana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kami sumichachara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surami raya macha pamadatana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, we'll do some meditation first, silent meditation before we start the talk. All right. Let's start again with uh, 18 principles insight. And here we are still in the Anattānupassanā. Now, on Monday, yeah. So on Monday, we talk about the different types, different modes of anatta, beginning from the first insight where one begin to see the knowledge that you can able to discriminate the mind and body, which they are two different entity. And when you can able to do that, then you don't see any form of third entity. It's always these two entity. So with that, it is it's a mode of anatta. Now, when you go as you practice further, you train further, then you begin to see into the conditionality. You see causes and its effect, or cause and conditions. As I mentioned, we can able to notice this nature of this intention or the mind more clearly. Then how the mind arises, then the body arises, or the body moves, or the body do something. And then we see this cause effect, cause and its resultant. Again and again, we will see it in many ways, even in a more minute manner. Then not only that, the anatta takes you into even higher, into deeper, where you begin to see that your nature of your noting, and sometimes can become very chaotic, as if like your noting is running everywhere, but you're still noting. It's not like that in the past where you can have a very smooth, predictable noting. But this time the noting or the objects runs very chaotically, and sometimes yogi may think that they are digressing because they have never seen all these phenomena or all these experiences before. So this form of its chaotic movements, they are also expression of another mode of anatta. Whereas at this time, the chaos that is going on inside there is totally not within your control. Totally, it's not your control anymore. There's no I that is involved. It's just carry on, it arises, it passes away. No matter how it comes, it goes, it will go on its own. So sometimes the yogi felt very difficult when noticing all these type of things, because very much in the past we want to so-called control our nature of our meditation. We want to walk in a certain manner. We want to have the rising, falling in a certain manner. We want the in-breath, out-breath just to be beautiful, to be nice, to be pleasant. When things changes, and not only changes, it changes fast, and then we felt very uncomfortable, and sometimes things become chaotic. That is all. That chaotic movement shows into anatta. All this anatta. Now, as you go higher and deeper into this insight, the anatta deepens into such a way that that things are going to come and go, arises, passes away, changes, and you have no control, no say about it. Then even sometimes it goes into deeper, that you can truly see how your mind actually perform, how actually they arise in just a microsecond, maybe before an action take place or a body take place. And every movement, every little tiny movement, every little thought that you're going to make, the mind knows it first. Then sometimes when you look into it, it becomes quite scary. It can become quite difficult. Uh, uh, then with that, no, there's nothing for you to hold on anymore. Especially when it comes to the accumulation at the knowledge of equanimity of formations, Sankara Upekanyana. And at that point, also the all the experiences of your noting becomes very like as if like you are disconnected and you just watch everything, because during that time the mindfulness and everything in their tip-top condition, as you never felt that it's such a high concentration, high mindfulness, everything is so balanced and it's very sharp, and you can be able to do a very long lasting practice. That not only that, but any form of pleasure or pleasantness that arises in the body or even in the mind, or any form of fear, any form of things that you used to have a lot of fear, or things or memories that it makes you very sad or make you very angry, this time the mind does not react towards it. It just observe it, whatever that comes, and just see it as they arises and passes away, arises, passes away, moment after moment. Nothing, all these emotional states does not affect you at all. And you just see them as not yours. All the past events, sometimes, like usually when we are not meditating, all these thoughts are or the future, then there's always connected with the I. I am. I was that. And that person makes me angry. And here, when it comes into Sankara Upeka, all these things cut off, and you still actually sees the memory, but it does not affect you at all. That means that there's no I that is involved during that time. So it's very powerful. So the day we stop until there, all this Anattānupassanā. But tonight we are going to carry on a little bit more on that, on Anattānupassanā, especially on the Sankara Upeka. Then we'll look into it, how there maybe a little bit. We'll see if we got time or not. Huh? Where am I? Okay, let's look into this a little bit. Hey. Hold on now. This was okay, last week. All right, okay. So we look into the Anattānupassanā, and also when we look into the number 15 of the 18 principle insight, one who develops correct knowledge and vision, yatta buddha jnana dasanang, abandons misinterpretation or adherence due to confusion. One who abandons adherence to the delusion by developing knowledge and things as they really are. Okay, let me put it. Okay. Hey, I keep on running. Okay, yeah. Now this is this one. This is okay. Now this is one. This is we stop until Sankara Upeka towards all formations. Tonight, what are we going to talk? Okay. Now we're going to see this a little bit more. We're going to look into this a little bit more on this, seeing things as they really are. It is also a kind of like a repetition of Monday's talk, in the sense that in the Monday's talk, we talk from the perspective of the development of insight. The development of insight. But tonight, the talk is from the context of from the text, and how they look at all the insights and so on, and they compile it in a certain way. Yeah? Misinterpretation or wrong interpretation, wrong misinterpretation. Not wrong anymore, cannot be double wrong. Okay. Now, seeing things as they really are. Here in the text, it says that to abandon the misinterpretation of solidity. When we say this word solidity, the word here is more of like being unity or oneness rather than like material solidness, this nature of this solidity involves materiality, of course, and also involves mental also. So mind and matter we are looking into the word solidity here. Not just, don't think of the word as something like just like a hard or soft or a table or a floor which is solid. No, not in that sense. But the thing is that because of the way we perceive nature of what we see and what we hear from that's coming in from all our six senses. And now that day we talk about wrong perception arises wrong cognition. Then from the wrong cognition arises the wrong view. From perception of self arises the cognition of self. From the cognition of self arises the wrong view of self. So here is because that how we perceive or how we conceptualize whatever that is going through our senses. Now, seeing things as they really are. Now, this abandons the misinterpretation of solidity. Now, here again, seeing things as they really are means that beginning from first insight and the second insight and all the way towards enlightenment. And of course, when we talk about that, also carry on after enlightenment, going into first stage, second stage, third stage, until arahantship. So there's always some degree of misinterpretation until one has able to abandon everything or eradicate everything. Then there's no more wrong perception. So even right up to anagami, the third stage, there's still a little bit of wrong perception. That's why they are still in samsara. Now, what I mean by this misinterpretation or wrong perception of continuity, santati gana, then samugaha gana or kicca gana or aramana gana. Solidity of continuity or oneness of continuity. Now, when we perceive people or when we perceive things, we perceive them as one. Perceive them as like a solidity in the sense that when we say the person, we gave the name, the person. We gave the the person is that with that particular shape, particular voice, particular way, and then we look at them as a person as a whole in that sense. So when we look at them as a whole, then with that perception, then it arises the thinking that then there must be an I or you or he or she. We already have this nature in us from since, if I can say this, since the beginning of our samsara. And it's going to continue on from life after life. And we do not know another way of getting out of this wrong perception. And exactly because of that, we don't even realize that it is wrong perception. We always believe that it must be right because that's the only thing. Yeah? So when we look at all this, with all this, like a person, like a light, or sorry, like a person, like anything that is solid, or even like when it goes into like a self, a soul, or consciousness, and so on, then we always look at them as something that is always continuous. Like the for example, if one believes the nature of the soul, then it's always look at it as something continuous. Even you have jhana also. Even you practice samatha meditation and you develop the right jhana too. Because in the right jhana, or even in the wrong jhana or whatever, huh? At least right jhana is not too bad, huh? Rather than wrong one. You still see continuity. You still see continuity in the jhana, and you come out from the jhana, you think about the jhana that you have earlier on. Continuous. There's nothing break up. There's nothing disappear. There's nothing there. You see a continuity of the state of mind. Yeah. So if we keep on doing this since in our life after life, even in the past we have developed some meditation, then we develop and we'll keep on seeing this continuity. We cannot able to break away. Even you learn about science. Then we think about, science, and then we look into, okay, the table in front of me. Okay, the table in front of me, you got the carbon, you got this one and all that thing, Conceptually, we can understand. Things are not really in a way, that one solidness is always made up of all these atoms and this and that. So too, some of you may be learning Abhidhamma also the same thing, You look at the body, the body got these four primary materiality, the four Mahabhuta, primary elements. And then you got all these 24 derived elements. You know all those things. Very good. Then you look into the mind, you study, I got 89 consciousness, and I got so many 52 cetasika, and this and that, and very good. But then when you don't learn about all these things, when you put that all aside, when you look at somebody with everything, still oneness, still whole, the person. It's only you have a better perception. You have a better, not to say that you are wrong, not to say that you are wrong. You have a better perception, but the concept of continuity still goes inside you, still flows inside you. Although you're thinking it's better. If those things, you're learning about Abhidhamma or learning about all the sciences and so on, if you can able to break up your continuity, then sooner or later you'll be enlightened also, Nibbana already. So, but then we cannot do that. We know that we cannot do that. So finally, it has to come into the vipassana and not samatha. And again, as I said, this vipassana, it's not easy to come by. Vipassana is only arises when you have the teachings of the Buddha. So you run around in samsara, it's very hard for you to go and find a vipassana practice. Sometimes even in the, according to the text, sometimes some Buddha's dispensation is quite short. So short, that means it's very quickly disappear, the Dhamma. This dispensation, this Buddha Sasana, is a bit longer. Then the Vipassana is there. And yet sometimes the Vipassana is all, sometimes have very much corrupted. Yeah. So in order for us to understand which one is not corrupt, or whether what is right or wrong, finally we have to put ourselves into the practice. If we put ourselves into the practice, then we keep all the biased thinking aside, all thinking and whatever. Just see things as it is. If it's going to rise, it's going to rise. If fall, it falls. You see it as they are. You in breath is an in breath, out breath is an out breath. You don't go and interpret that this in breath is connected to the lungs, connected to the this, and all this thinking coming in. Yeah? So we just keep on watching that thing. If it's in breath, you know it. Out breath, you know it. Then you notice some sensation like a pain, you know that is a sensation. You don't go and feed it more than necessary. For example, some people feed it more in the sense like, oh, the blood vessel is blocked, the nerves is something and all that thing. If you feed on it, that means you already goes into additional perception already. That we don't want to have this um, biased type of thoughts that arises. But again, a lot of people, a lot of yogis actually attach to the biased thoughts rather than seeing things as they really are. Just to see the pain, what is there for a lot of people? What is there? What is there to see just in the in breath, out breath? What is there to see in the rising and falling? What is there to see in the walking? What is there to see in the movement of an arm? What is there to see? Because they cannot able to penetrate further, everything will still remain as solidity. Yeah. So when it comes to the practice, then one has to make a lot of effort. In the beginning, it's not going to be easy. Now, a lot of times, yogis begin to break solidity. Not even the first insight yet, but solidity is the first thing that you're going to break. As I mentioned, many yogis, when they struggle and they go in and out from a retreat after retreat, they begin to see that their breath or their rising, falling, or their lifting, pushing, dropping are not continuous. They break up like 2 or 3 breathing, two or three in breath, 2 or 3 out breath. No, it's staggered, then it ends. Then, or like rising, one after another, then it ends. All these things is to break away that solidity, the solidity of continuity. Because right now, we don't only feel that the breath is just as one, but they are that at that moment of time, we know that there's the movement of the breath. It's 2 or 3 movement that's inside it. So again, when you notice all these things again and again, then all the objects begins to break because of the nature of the wisdom, mindfulness, concentration. When they all come together, they penetrate and begin to show you. Yeah, you begin, if you train yourself properly, then once you see able to see all this break, this in breath, out breath, let's say it starts to break, then if you pay the same amount of clarity and observation into your, let's say, your movement of your arm, then it's going to show you the arm is breaking. No. The movement of the arm is breaking. Then if you pay the same attention with the same clarity again and you direct it to your movement of your leg, also you're going to show you the same thing. It's just like when your torchlight is that powerful, everything you shine with that particular torchlight and that power of the light, it will show you wherever that you're going to point it at. It's going to be that bright, you're going to see that much. You're not going to see more, but you're going to see that much. So you train. So you keep on training day in, day out. You keep training, yeah. Then you begin to see you keep on breaking a lot of things. Then you begin to see the mind itself is not in the sense of continuous too. Yeah. Now, the continuity here, usually when it comes to the meditation, yogi is able to see the breaking up of the continuity in the body first, usually, because the mind is slightly more subtle. So sometimes yogi noticing that, the rising, falling is breaking up into a number of parts. In breath, out breath is breaking up number of parts. But when they look at the mind, they feel the noting mind itself, direct the mind, the notice itself, then this is one lump only. Nothing else is there. You just see one lump. Not lump lah, sorry. Like just knowing only. Then you see, you're able to see this one. But you don't give up yet. You just keep on going and going, and you keep on building up that mindfulness. Sooner or later, you begin to see the mind also come. After that, another mind. After that, another mind. After that, another mind. It shows you that it begins to break down a lot of things to all, in the sense that to dismantle the continuity. That is where, when you begin to see until slowly into all that thing, then the first insight begin to arise, and you begin to see things as they really are. As the first, then you see those things. So in a way that it needs to be examined closely. You cannot do vipassana nowadays. I said nowadays people, sometimes I hear people do vipassana. It's just sit down there, a little bit of rising, a little bit of falling, a little bit of walking. Even they say they every day meditate until for the past 2 years they have not gone into retreat. They sit at the home, they meditate every day. But it cannot come into really to break down all this continuity. They still see rising, falling, rising, falling. I mean, it's good, not to say it's bad. It's still good and better than they don't do at all. But the penetration has not really come in yet. So it needs actually a lot of these things, and a lot of people that I know, a lot of yogis that I know, you need retreats. You need proper retreats in order for you to develop some degree of mental sharpness and penetrativeness of the mind. So when you're able to see that, which is wonderful, you can see you begin to break up the solidity of this one. Now, as you begin to go further into the development, then everything you just see is only arising and passing away. The continuity changes even more clearer. It begin to show you arising and passing away at the fourth insight knowledge. Then things arise, pass away, arise, it come and go again and again. But a few years ago, there are people interpret that this rising and falling. Sorry. This arising and passing away. When we say, and normally when we say arising and passing away, we say that it's moment after moment. It just doesn't stop. It's just like when you look into the light, the light will keep on pip up. It's not one solid light, but it keep on come and go. So something like that, when we look into the mind and also look into the body, it very fast. Sometimes you may hear that when a thought that passing through, thinking that is passing through, there may be a lot of uncountable consciousness has passed through. Or you move and your arms, then you say, oh, there's a countless consciousness that's passing through. For us, we don't need to see all this countless consciousness. What we need to see is that we need to see the consciousness, of course. We need to see the object. And the nature we see is to see its changes. You have to see the anicca, dukkha, anatta, not to count how many inside there. Don't be like the Abhidhamma scholar. They want to meditate. Now some are not all, because some are inside here. They meditate. Oh, they want to calculate how many thought moments they're coming in. They want to not like that. We meditate in order to see its anicca, dukkha, anatta, so that we can get out of samsara. Not calculate how many cekasika you have. While you're meditating, how to calculate how many consciousness you're going to have. That is not your area. So we need to see those things. So the arising and passing away, it's keep on breaking up, and you see the discontinuity even much more clearer, moment after moment. But then there are people that I know of some years back, that when people interpret that arising and passing away moment after moment, then they interpret it as just like they do sitting meditation, all right? They do sitting meditation. Then they give you a counter, you give a hand counter. Then after that, you sit already. You must, they said that for the last 3 days of your 2 weeks retreat, 3 days, the last 3 days, you must not sleep, Must not sleep, okay. So you don't sleep. Then after that, they give you a counter. So you meditate already, then your head nodding one time. Then you meditate twice, then you press, then you press again, because 24 hours you don't sleep already. So you for 1 hour or 1.5 hours, you sit down there. Then if you have the counter shows you 50, then it says that you see 50 times of arising and passing away already. How about that? 50 times of arising and passing away. Oh. Just because they see the counter. And therefore you are in the knowledge of arising and passing away. Udayabhaya jnana. How easy. And they're still teaching. They're still teaching out there. And people believe them. And people believe them. What can I say? I mean, I'm also in the same place with them, but I'm not a teacher. I'm just another monk only there. So, and they have a lot of yogis, in fact. Anyway, that's how people interpret all these things. You don't see the. So here, when we see all these arising and passing away, we abandon all this solidity of permanence, and things that is continuous. Because when you see things are continuous, there is a perception of it's going to be permanent. The conception, the cognition, and also the wrong view about what is permanent is based upon all these type of things, because we don't see it. So when we begin to see truly the anicca, we begin to break all these things, and then the signs of then all this discontinuous manner of this mind and body become very evident to the yogi. Now, all these things, you see, this discontinuity, it will keep on going on until one becomes Arahant. And of course, after one becomes Arahant, one still see the discontinuous nature of mind and body. But of course, there's nothing to be eradicated anymore. So, of course, they still see the mind and body. It's not going to go anywhere yet. It's just that for them, it's already eradicate the defilement. So we need to see these things in order for us to progress, so that the path consciousness able to eradicate the defilements, so we can get out of this samsara. So this is what it meant by to break down the continuity of our misinterpretation. Next one. Solidity of mass, samukkaha gana. Now the mass here is meant like everything is being solidified together. Like, for example, is that when we look at the nature of this body, now in science, this one is quite easy for us to understand. If you are more of a scientific, able to think more scientifically, then this one is easier to understand. Then here just now I gave this one is that the mass is not one, but it is made up of atoms and oxygen and carbon and so on, and they all come together to make thing as one. So the thing is that we also the same thing. The body and the mind also the same thing. When we able to penetrate with wisdom, then we can begin to see that there is wind element, movements. We can see a hardness and softness. The hardness and softness is not the same. The wind, something that is moving and something hard, they are not the same. Then we can able to begin to notice those things. Now, sometimes when we are in the meditation and sometimes when we are more clear of what is going on with, let's say, with the rising and falling. Within that rising and falling itself, we are taught that just to notice rising, falling, and so on. But as your mindfulness becomes sharper, sometimes you can notice that within the rising and falling, there is a hardness there. It's something like it's something solid, but it's moving. The solidness is moving. Or sometimes that you can able to feel some degree of warmness together with the rising and falling. And they are different. The warmness is one thing, rising, fall, the movement is another thing. And you can able to differentiate these two quite clearly. You want to pay attention to the warmness, also can. You can pay attention to the rising also can. Or sometimes the yogi, because of its clarity, it can able to take all whatever that has come in the front of it within the noting mind. You can able to notice those things. So that is perfectly all right. As the mind is totally clear. Then not only that, it can notice that things become clearer. Sometimes it notice that the movement of the rising falling is still there, but the warmness starts to fade away. Then or sometimes you begin to notice that the rising falling become even heavier or become like bloated in that sense. Heavy, bloated, unpleasant. Sometimes it become very light, like a feather light, as if it goes on very smoothly. So he begins to see a number of different characteristics of materiality even within this body. So it begin to able to that this rising and falling is not just rising and falling only. There are many other components of the elements are also involved into it. So we don't see all those things. Now, so to the same thing when we look into the mind. When we look into the mind, initially the yogi, as I said earlier, it just noticed that knowing only, the mind is knowing one solid thing, one thing only. You don't see any other thing. Then later on, you can able to feel something else. That when you notice arising and falling, you notice that the mind is alert and clear. The mind is alert and clear. While it's at alert and clear at that time, it's alert, it's clear. The mind also is very vibrant, like it's energetic. Alert and clear is one thing. Energetic is another thing. Then you begin to notice that there's different components within the noting mind, within even the knowing mind of whatever that you are paying attention. So it's begin to break down on the different, in the solidity of the mind. You can able to notice those things. Yeah? Or sometimes you can able to notice different sets of noting. It's like, for example, like as you notice thing, then the mind calms, it disappear. Calm, it disappear. Calm, it disappear. Then during that time, the yogi notice it as something as one gone, one gone, one gone. It's not something just one. It just come, then another one come, another one come. So it begin to again break down on this one on solidity, on solidity of mass. So here this this solidity, they are very, they're all like intertwined, intertwined together. And it depends on how you wrongly perceive the thing. In reality, there's no such thing as continuity, there's no such thing as solidity or mass or all these things. It's just our misconception towards all those things. So mass is like when you see everything together. You don't see it into its different components. Or something like the mass also the same thing is like when you are looking at things or when you are hearing, you can't differentiate an object of hearing, let's say, object of hearing, consciousness of hearing. You can't, then the thoughts that arises from the consciousness, or the feeling arises from the consciousness of that hearing process. So everything is all like intertwined together. We cannot able to differentiate everything else. Cannot. And because everything is all come together. Solidity of mass. Solidity of function. Here again, we see like, we thought that initially when we meditation, we thought that the mind is just only one thing only, that is just to know. But as we meditate further, then we know that there are different functions of a noting mind. Last time, I think that many years ago, 8 or 9, how many years? Maybe 10 years ago, I gave a talk during a retreat. I gave, when you have a noting mind, what is inside the noting mind? And when you got your curry chicken, what is inside all your curry chicken? That one is how I teach, then how we can cook them up, how we can develop that noting mind, which is more important than your chicken curry. So here is the same thing. So when we look at the function, for example, when you learn about the 5 faculties, when we learn about the 5 faculties, we learn about its different function. What does mindfulness do? What does the concentration do? What does the wisdom factor do? What does the effort do? What does the faith or the confidence, saddha, what does it do? We look into all those things. We look into all those things, at least on theoretically, which is in line when you come into the meditation. So when you are in the meditation, actually you can feel that at times, especially when you want to talk about the balancing of the faculties, then you are actually balance the faculties on the go. That while you're meditating, then effort become too much, and then the function of effort, it become too much. The mind starts more thinking already, so you lower down that effort a little bit now, then you increase the concentration, or increase the mindfulness a little bit, so a certain functional thing of the noting mind, which is not just one thing, but you can able to, in a way, fine tune it, which is good. We can able to fine tune it in order for us to progress even further. And this type of balancing, and therefore you must understand their functions, the different nature of the mind, how they functions, and it become very helpful for your meditation progress. So because not all the time the mind is going to be clear and precise and sharp all the time. They are still subject to impermanence. They are going to come, they're going to go due to different conditions. So understanding their condition, then be able to um, to change the this one, and it brings back to the clarity. Then people say, Bhante, if you do like that, don't you think you are controlling your own mind? Finally, don't you think you're still controlling your own mind? During that time, your mindfulness is so sharp. Your mindfulness is clear. It know how to auto-tune itself. This is just while we are talking only. While we are talking only. Initially, of course, you learn how to do it. But after you get used to it, it kind of like know how to auto-tune itself to the best most optimum way of noting. So it knows how to do. It knows how to. But at the time, you can see that how this functional thing is also cause and effect. You arouse it a bit, then this thing will come. You decrease this one, you go like that. Things like that. You can see its different function very clearly. So in that sense, we break away from that misinterpretation of solidity of function. Now, solidity of object. Here is where how your mind takes upon the object. The mind takes object. The body cannot take object. All right. Yeah. The mind takes object. The mind takes an object. That means the mind can take materiality as an object, or it can take other minds as its object. It can take itself as an object. Because the mind itself, there's not just one mind. For example, when you are sleepy, how do you know you are sleepy? The mind knows the mind. When your mind is thinking so much, how do you know you're thinking? The mind knows the mind. The noting mind knows the thinking mind. In order for us to describe it during the talk, of course, we use a different name. But while we are doing in the meditation, things are going much more faster. Things changes more faster. You only have to pay attention to it. If you are clear, you can see that the thinking disappear. If you're not clear, you see the thinking getting more and more. So when you notice that, the mind can able to notice there are different types of object that is coming in. Several different objects. Like for example, when you are meditating, in the beginning of meditation, you notice that or your thought your thought. And most of the yogis are usually taught in this way. Your mind can only take one object at a time. In a way, I'm not saying it's wrong. In a way, it's true. But you're not looking at another big area which is being covered and which is being not said. What is not said is the quickness of what we mean by one thing, the one consciousness, and take one object at a time. The quickness of the mind, or the such a mind can go so fast that it can, when it takes object, because it's so fast, we see the whole object as one. That's how we do, That's how we function every day. We see them as one. But when you go into the deeper aspect of meditation, you can able to notice that the object itself is not one, but your mind can notice it one after another. But it looks like it's one from the outside. Now, sometimes if you are more of a meditator, that when you are meditating and things are very clear, sometimes as if like you can taking several objects at the same time. Several objects. Like for example, like consciousness arises, hearing consciousness one another one, then sensation of pain arises, rising falling arises, sometimes heartbeat also you can feel. Now, when you pay attention to it now, as if like the whole mind can look into all those things sekali, at one go. And you thought that, hey, cannot. I've been taught to take one object at one time only. How can all these so many objects sekali come? They all come together. My meditation must be I'm doing something wrong with my meditation. No, you're not. That is usually what yogis think. But this is exactly, it breaks down the solidity of the object. That when the mind becomes much more faster, the noting mind becomes much more fluid and this one, and it takes object sometimes at just one moment only, then it's already moved to another object, then it already moved to another object, and move to another object. So while you are noting the whole, let's say 5 or 6 objects together, the mind is actually taking it at a one time, but you cannot see because the quickness of the mind, one after another, you cannot see it. It's so much more faster than your noting, than you able to know what is going on. But you can know that there are several objects that you're being taking in together. As if like you put a noting mind there, you can see a number of objects is happening inside there. It's like a helicopter view, not just one to one, not just one noting mind or one rising, one noting mind, one falling. Those days in the beginning, when you begin, yes, it happened like that. If you have so many other objects, your mind gets scattered. But this time different. As you go deeper, you can able to see that the mind can take in different minds, but because of the quickness of the mind, such a fast quickness of the mind that several objects are already coming in so fast, as if while you're noting it, they look as if like a single noting mind can take all of them, as if lah. But yeah, that one is good because that time you can able to see the mind can able to break down all the objects in a very fast manner. So don't underestimate these experiences. Sometimes there are even teachers that says that, oh no, you must not see all this type of thing. Go back to rising, falling, rising, falling. Can take this one at one time only. Sometimes, even sometimes yogis seen it, but sometimes there are certain teachers, they stop the yogi from looking at it. Even the yogi is able to progress quite well, But once in a while, also in the beginning part of the meditation, you can actually once in a while it comes in this way. It's just that sometimes yogis just ignore it because it may not be so prominent thing. But in the later on, these things can be very prominent. So you can see that all this solidity of objects that it can able to break down in so many ways. Therefore, when we understand these things, when we come out of it, then you can see that how our mind, here we can talk, hand also can move. Head also can move. Here also can drink water. But everything, one moment at a time. Everything. Although it looks like everything are doing it together, but because the mind is just so fast. And that shows in the Vipassana as you get deeper into the meditation. Okay, so next time if you so happen to see these type of things, so don't get shocked. Don't get shocked. So let's go back to the screen sharing. All right, so this is it removes all this wrong interpretation. So seeing things as they really are, you pay attention to it squarely, clearly, then you begin to abandon all this misinterpretation of solidity. 9:46, okay. All right, let's look into another 3 more of 18 of the 18 contemplation. Then here we're going to, let's in a way kind of repeat again. All right, this is contemplation number 11, 12, and 13. Okay. One who develops the contemplation of signless, animitta, abandons the sign. One who develops the contemplation of desireless, apanihita, abandons desire. One who develops the contemplation of voidness, sunya, abandons the misinterpretation. Actually, misinterpretation of formation, but because the translation is like that in the text, so they just put there misinterpreting. But misinterpreting of actually formation, actually misinterpreting of formations here, mind and body, other words. Okay, now 11, 12, and 13, this one is synonymously with the impermanence, which is anicca. Number 12 is synonymous with dukkha, and 13 is non-self, voidness. Now, we look into number 11, animitta. The word you use, nimitta, here, we need to do a little bit this one. Okay. Now, usually when we use the word nimitta, many of us just use it as, and we think that the word nimitta is just for, what do you call it? Samatha meditation. You meditate in breath, out breath, after that got nimitta arises, which is mentally created nimitta, which is a concept. But here we use the word nimitta in a more different context altogether. Not mind-made, but actually it's real. It's reality. It's an ultimate reality in that sense. Usually we just use the word object. Usually English we just use the word object, or usually you use the word conditional phenomena of formations. Formation here sankhara, so sankhara nimitta. So the word sankhara here, it means body and mind. Inclusive body and mind, not the 5 aggregate sankhara, but the 5 aggregate sankhara is just only for the mind part. But here is involve body and mind. All these are being formed. All these are being formed. So in the contemplation of signlessness, or noting on the signlessness, here when we don't see what we called the sign of permanence, the sign of stability, or the sign of eternity. So again, here is a repetition again. Repetition in the sense that when you begin to see things, phenomena breaking up, going into destruction, going into dissolution, arising and passing away and keep on disappearing or breaking up, then it strengthens that perception of impermanence, anicca, Anattānupassanā. Then here the sign of permanence disappear. Also the same thing that when we begin to see all this nature of instability, that everything goes into viparinama, goes into change, nothing for us to hold on to, then the sign of stability also disappear. So then the sign of eternity, sasata nimitta, the sign of eternity also, the concept of eternity also abandons at that moment of time. Therefore, if there's no sign of eternity, therefore the wrong perception of eternity will not arise. The cognition of eternity will not arise. Therefore, the wrong view of eternity will not arise. This is the sasata ditti, the wrong view of eternity, that we learned in the Four Noble Truths, in the Second Noble Truth, the wrong view of eternity. So here we break up all these type of things. We break all these things. Now, so this is again the same as impermanent. The same as impermanent. Then the 12 also the same thing, desireless, because when you see all these type of phenomena arising and passing away, everything changes. The mind does not want to hold on to it, want to crave for it. It's just like when you meet with people, these people, the mood keep on changing. Morning one mood, afternoon another mood, night another mood. You don't want to go near the person, you want to stay away. You don't feel any sort of desire towards the person. You want to stay away from this one. So desireless. So the same thing. Whatever formation that you see all this like arising, passing away, and so on, it become very oppressive to you. It become very oppressive, unpleasant, and so on. Then, is there any craving towards them? Then no. The mind does not want to crave for all this type of reason. So it's a kind of, again, dukkha. Number 13, here, a contemplation of voidness. Now, here the contemplation of voidness, it also like connected to non-self, in the sense that when you are, let's say in the first stage of insight, the first level of insight, you see this distinguishing of mind and matter. You see this mind and matter, this one. Now, that too also is a form of contemplation of void, because here the void or the emptiness, sunya, or here it doesn't mean that there's nothing, empty kang, not nothing. What it means here is that it's void of a self, it's void of a soul, it's void of a third entity, whichever you believe from your wrong view. So what you see is only mind and matter, which is there only. There's no other third entity. So it's void of that. So a lot of people, when they use the word sunya, then they use it as completely empty. That means when you meditate until everything go blank. All the mind, everything goes blank. 好死了, nibbana 了. But that is not what it meant by the Buddha. The void does not mean, or the emptiness, sometimes they translate as emptiness. So just don't think as like you look into the empty tin or empty everything, nothing is inside there. No, it's not that. Void, there is still mind and matter, there's still mind and matter, except that they don't have the they don't have the self or soul inside there, or external jiwa atta, no, or the parama atta, and so on. They don't have those type of things. So it abandons the misinterpretation of formation, because the misinterpretation of formation, there's belief that there is a self, there's a thing inside that. Huh? Uh, Now, the reason I take this three for tonight, and also maybe next Monday also, because these three is going to be important when when you are just about to enter or realize nibbana. Yeah. As you're going to enter or realize nibbana, this one of these three is going to be important for you. Now, where did I have this one? Okay. Now we go to this one again. Here you see the red colored one that I highlight. And at the number 12, actually is anicca or dukkha or anatta. All right. It's different from number 3, knowledge of comprehension. Anicca, dukkha, and anatta, Okay. So here I put anicca or dukkha or anatta. Here, what the thing is that when we go back to the knowledge of equanimity of formations, here the knowledge of equanimity of formations, it's going to be mind is going to be very alert, very clear. As I said, it's going to have a long-lasting practice. Even they says that the mind is like an arahant, at this time, according to the text, knowledge of equanimity towards formation. Towards formation here is all towards the sign, towards mind and body, towards the sankhara. So while you are here, you notice all your insights, arising, passing away, going to destruction, changing, and totally you are not delighted at all. And also, you are not affected by all the forms of dukkha and all kinds of oppression. But you are still at the knowledge of equanimity of formations. So here, as you pick up, as you mentally you get matured, as the mindfulness gets stronger, more powerful, and so on. So when it comes to this insight of equanimity of formations, and then when you go to the knowledge number 12, in between here, it's where you're going to see whether you're going to see anicca, dukkha, or anatta. So therefore, it has a name for it, They call it the triple gateway of liberation. Last year, we talked about this thing in the third noble truth. In the third noble truth, we talk about this thing, the triple gateway of liberation, and also, of course, other time also I talk about it also. Again, here you see the word signless liberation, okay? Desireless liberation, and void or emptiness liberation. Sunya, vimokkha, this is apanihita, vimokkha, signless is animita, vimokkha. All right. Now, for those with signless liberation, that means your faith is predominant. And your adimokha also is predominant, which faith and adimokha, they come together. Yeah? Number 2 is that your desireless liberation, that means your concentration or your tranquility is predominant. Then your third one is your void or emptiness liberation, then wisdom is predominant. When you say this liberation, that means you already touch nibbana. But before you touch nibbana, what happened is that at the knowledge of equanimity here, the speed of the noting is going to pick up. And it's going to pick up for Nibbana already. It's going to pick up in such a way that everything is going to get, everything is just fast on it. Anything that you notice is going to be arising and passing away. Maybe lah, just give you in the past, you notice like 1 second, one noting. Yeah? Okay, 1 second, one noting. But this time, it's going to be like within a second, there are 10 notings already gone through. Pick up speed. Pick up. That means your mind you're going to be able to notice things is going to pick up. Now, while things are picking up, the things is picking up, and then you're going to see this movement. This is such a fast movement of arising and passing away, of its change and so on. Now, how you perceive this arising and passing away, it depends on your predominant. It depends on your quality. So if you are more faith quality, you will see this arising and passing manner in a very fast manner. You see them as impermanent. So when you see this them as impermanent, later part when there's liberation take place, Nibbana take place, then that Nibbana, we call it the signless liberation, because you go through from seeing impermanence and then Nibbana later on take place. So this impermanence is so much more faster than the earlier one that we talked before. And yet, at that moment of time, we see that there's no continuity, there's no solidity, all this, there's always arising and passing away. So you don't see any form of sign or any form of continuity in that sense. So when you reach liberation, it's called signless liberation. Signless liberation, yes. So number 2, the desireless liberation. Again here, when you see this fast manner and according to your own predominance, then again you see it as dukkha and you see it as oppressive. The arising and passing away such a fast manner, but this time you look at it, like something that you just want to put it aside, but you are still observing. So that time you are watching it. So when you are ready for it, enlightenment take place, then it's called desireless liberation. Then the third one is called empty liberation, wisdom. Here again, when you use the word empty, does not mean that it's nothing inside that. Again, it's the same arising and passing away. It's such a fast manner that you look at it, that all this fast manner of arising and passing away, it does not have a self at all, does not even at your control, you cannot control it, it's all chaotic inside there. You watch it and later on you attain liberation. So then Nibbana being realized. But say is easy because it's at this triple gateway liberation. Sometimes some yogis, what happened is this. They are, it give you a simile. They cannot reach Nibbana. They reach then things go back again to knowledge of equanimity. It slow down. Go again, cannot reach Nibbana, cannot attain Nibbana. Why? I don't know why. Now, the thing is that at this stage, sometimes, who knows, in the past you do something wrong and then they really go and block you. Maybe in the past you're going to say something bad about some enlightened people, then also block. Maybe lah, I know I'm saying, I'm not sure. So we really do not know. It just cannot reach. It's just like how, sometimes I look at it, it's like you have a car, Then you have now you have a hill to climb up. But you ram up your car, you want to cross over the hill, you go halfway, your car no strength, not enough horsepower, okay, then go down again. Then after that you got to ram up again halfway only, then come back. So a lot of time they just go up, come down, cannot cross over, because bo cao lat, don't know what they are just missing, So what are you going to do right now? So for if you are there, make sure you keep on practice and practice and practice and practice. Who knows, So near and yet so far. So this is on the triple gateway of liberation. Because they use the word apanihita and all that, and it comes right at the doorstep of nibbana. Impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and this one. So we talk about here. We're going to look into it a little bit on Monday. Some other 18 principles of insight. Some of the insight that we have not looked into it yet. We're going to look into it, and also we're going to look with this a little bit more. All right. So it's already 10:06 already. So we stop here for tonight. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we share merits. Idang me bawanang
Itam me pawanan,
nibbanasa
nibbanasa,
pachayo
pachayo,
hotu.
hotu.
May my mental cultivation
May my mental cultivation
be a condition
be a condition
for the realization
for the realization
of nibbana.
of nibbana.
Imang no
Imano,
punya bagang
punya bagang,
sabba satanang
sabba satanan,
dema.
demang.
We share these merits
We share these merits
with our departed ones,
with our departed ones,
with all beings
with all beings,
and all the devas.
and all the devas.
Sabbe satta
Sabbe sata,
sukhi hontu
sukhi hontu,
anumodantu.
anumodantu.
May all beings
May all beings
be happy.
be happy.
May they rejoice
May they rejoice
in these merits.
in these merits.
Sadhu. Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.